So today's topic is toxic relationships and what to do about them. Um, and they say that you really grow up when you have broken or walked away from certain relationships. And I didn't understand that because I thought if you're really mature and grown up, you will actually know how to make all relationships work. But through my own life experiences, I have found that was a foolish and naive thought. You can't do that. Neither can you fix every relationship, nor it is your job, right? Your job or my job or our job and our responsibility is to take care of ourselves first and foremost. They also said we are some of the five people we hang out most with, right? So if people you are spending most time with feel toxic, then there is no way for you to grow or for you to be happy or live meaningful and fulfilling lives. Right? So it's very important for us to assess our closest relationships, people we spend most time with, and identify, are those relationships healthy and fulfilling, or are they unhealthy and toxic, and then what can we do about it. Now, before we talk any further, I want to give a disclaimer that I am not talking about very severe, cases of domestic violence or sexual abuse. I think there is a lot more complexity there. So I'm going to leave and say if that is the case, a lot of things I say might apply, but it's better to kind of seek a professional help, in those cases. So for today's talk, I want to talk about three things. One, what is a toxic relationship? Like, what do we define as toxic, and how do we identify them? Two, why the hell do we stay in those toxic relationships? And then three, what can we do about it, right? And how do we take care of ourselves? So let's start talking about what are toxic relationships and how do you identify those. So, toxic, if you look up the dictionary definition of the word toxic, it means poisonous or something very harmful or bad or something that will make you very ill or sick. So, similarly, relationships that are harmful and bad and can be unhealthy and they can make us emotionally sick. And sometimes that can then actually eventually lead to physical and mental sickness, right? You can have depression, you can actually have, physical illness, and that they have done research on this too. And any relationship can become toxic, right? It could be friendships, romantic relationships, marriages, even at work with your colleagues, even roommates, family, extended family. Basically, if you have a relationship, it could be either healthy or unhealthy, right? Any relationship. And you probably all, I know I have been, and I'm sure you have been in one of those relationships, right? Like, where every time you interact with that person, the other person, there is something wrong with their life, and there is no room for you and your suffering in the relationship, since their suffering trump yours. Their needs trumps your needs. Their desires trump your desires. Their opinion trump your opinions, right? It feels suffocating because there is no room for you. They can make you constantly doubt yourself, right? And you don't get any healthy reflection back from them. You always are guilt trapped. So either it's your fault, meaning you're the oppressor, so you're feeling guilty, or what will they do without your help? So you are the savior, right? So either you're the abuser or the savior. In either ways, you are feeling guilty. And they suck so much time and energy out of you that actually nothing is left for you, for your own self, and for the other healthy relationships in your life. And you have to constantly watch, what you say and what you do, because they're so unpredictable. And they create this unsafe, untrusting environment where you are made to kind of perform, and you have no idea when they will trip up. So I'm sure you can identify with some of these, like we all have been in relationship like that. And how do you know that you're in that? The short answer of how to identify that we are in a toxic relationship is to pay attention to how we feel. Like our emotions and our feelings are our true North Star and our compass, right? So, like a simple format could be before you interact with the person, if you feel obligated rather than excited, right? So example is you're saying to yourself, damn, I have to go meet or talk to that person, or oh, they suck the life out of me, or I'm not excited to meet them for dinner but I have to go. So you're kind of feeling obligated to interact with the person than excited to interact with the person. So that's before the interaction. Then during the interaction you feel basically, vigilance, right? So you have to always feel vigilant and protective of yourself. You don't feel safe, you don't feel cared for, you don't feel supported, and you can't be yourself. Like, you can't be your authentic self. You have to put on a facade or a mask of some sort and a certain image to protect yourself, and you have to watch your words. It's like walking on eggshells. So during the interaction you're walking on eggshells and being vigilant. And then after the interaction, once you've done the whole performance and you've dragged yourself to interact with them, you feel deflated and exhausted instead of energized and fulfilled. It's almost like you escaped a car crash, or you just came out of an exam. So if you are feeling that when you are interacting with someone, where you are, feeling obligated to interact with them before the interaction, you feel vigilant and walking on eggshells during the interaction, and you feel exhausted after the interaction, that is an indicator or a sign that that relationship is not healthy. Now, the important part to note here is the other person may not know that they are being toxic, right? It may not be intentional. They're not like evil people, but that doesn't matter. The relationship still doesn't serve you. And, toxic relationships are like slow poison. It's like, death by 1,000 cuts, right? So it may never be bad. It may never be bad enough for you to walk away, but you will die in the process of staying alive with them. So then, the next question is, why do so many of us stay in those relationships, right? I have certainly done that many times. It took me years before I walked out of my marriage, or it, walked away from a friendship that sucked the life out of me. So why do we stay in toxic relationships? So the reason we stay in toxic relationships, in a nutshell, okay, is our identity and our worthiness are somehow gotten entangled with the relationship. So our identity and worthiness have gotten entangled in the relationship, and that's why we stay in it. So let's go further into unpacking this. So more often than not, actually, we are not even aware, right, of the toxicity consciously. Like, we are not aware that this relationship is no longer serving us. Like, we may be experiencing the symptoms of exhaustion, but we haven't consciously identified that this relationship is unhealthy or even toxic. So if you're not aware, obviously you're not going to do anything about it. So one reason is we stay is because we are not even aware. Other times when we are aware of it, right, then we stay because we tell ourselves, oh, it's not that bad, right? How often have we said, it's not that bad, it's not bad enough. So somehow we have explained the situation. Somehow we have made sense out of it, and we have normalized it, right? So it's become normal. It's just how relationships are. It's not that bad. And so we choose to stay in it. We feel a sense of duty or loyalty towards the person, right? And this could be very true, especially with our exes, like ex-wife, ex-husband, or our family members, right? Because they're family, so you feel a sense of duty. So you feel compelled to stay in that relationship. Other reason is, we would rather be in this crappy relationship and so we would rather be in this relationship, the crappy one, than deal with the loss of it or the loneliness from after, if we walk away. So I would rather eat dinner with you than be eating alone, right? I would rather hang out with you and get bullied than be by myself. I would rather be in this relationship than deal with the loss and the hard work of healing. So we stay in it because somehow it's easier. And surprisingly, sometimes we actually get something out of it, like a small reward. Yeah, we do. We even, we may not realize it, but we get something out of these crappy relationships. For example, we worry that if we walk away, then we are no longer caring and nice people. And, obviously what will other people think about us is one thing, but it's more of what will I think of myself. So staying in relationship, this crappy one, makes me feel like I am a nice and caring person. So that's my reward. I feel nice and caring as a human being, so I stay in this crappy relationship. Another reward for us is, their constant need of us and us fixing their problem gives us a feeling that we are needed. And this is a very strong reason to stay, because you feel needed. And feeling needed is a very basic human need, right? We all want to be needed in our lives. Sometimes fixing them and fixing their problems even gives us a sense of purpose. And this you see very common with, partners of alcoholics, for example. In other words, this becomes a codependent relationship, codependence, where fixing them, kind of becomes our purpose, and we feel like, oh, we are needed. Other reason is, all the drama that the relationship brings, like even if it's misery, it gives us a feeling of alive, somewhat like a adrenaline rush, right? Without this drama, it would be like so silent, and the life will be, we'll have to face our own issues. We may have to face our own depression. We may have to face our own grief. So this drama-full relationship kind of is a distraction. It is like a staying busy phenomenon. So these are all the various reasons, right? I mean, this is not an exhaustive list, but somehow our identity and our worthiness has gotten tangled in the relationship. So we stay in it because we have rationalized and normalized it. We feel a sense of duty. We don't want to deal with our loneliness. We feel like we are nice, caring people. We feel like we are needed, and the drama brings like rush to our lives. So we stay in relationship, these toxic relationships. Now, let's say you're sitting in sun, okay, and you're getting sunburned. Is it the sun's fault? No. It is your responsibility and my responsibility to move away and go and sit in shade. So similarly, it is our responsibility towards ourselves to walk away from what does not serve us. So let's talk about, what can we do to deal with the toxic relationships. So step one, obviously, is, getting aware, right? Like I said, like a lot of times we are not even aware that we are in unhealthy relationships. So pay attention to how you feel before you meet the person, during the interaction, and after you meet the person. If you don't feel any desire to meet the person, you feel completely vigilant and inauthentic during, and you feel exhausted after, it's definitely a toxic relationship. Good, healthy relationships leave us fulfilled and energized emotionally, right? Like it may leave us physically tired. Like I'm helping my friend move furniture, okay? I'm physically exhausted, but mentally I'm energized, and emotionally I'm feeling fulfilled and gratified by helping my friend because she showed appreciation for me, right? So healthy relationships, even though they can be physically tiring, right? Emotionally, they're not. The second thing we should do is get support, right? Once you've identified that you are in a toxic relationship, get support, full stop, right? Find a good friend, find a family member, a counselor, a coach, somebody. You will need support because as you try to course correct or walk away, you can't do it alone, right? Relationships are the most important part of our lives and hence the hardest things to deal with. And that's why we need support. So it's important to get support. The third thing is understand your reasons of why you are staying in the relationship. Like, you have to have an honest conversation with yourself on why do you want to stay. And this has to be a curious conversation, not a judgmental one, right? It's not like, oh, you stupid person staying in this relationship. Like, no, what need is this relationship fulfilling? What am I unwilling to deal with, right? And what is the impact of this on my life? You can, rope in a counselor or a coach or a friend to talk, to reflect when you are doing this understanding work. And also remember all the reasons we talked about, right? Like why you stay in a relationship, and you can kind of like go through them saying, okay, which of these kind of match mine and why am I staying here? Once you have identified that you are in a toxic relationship, you kind of know why you are staying in it, you know, uh, then it's a decision point, right? What do you want to do? How much do you care for this relationship to save it? Obviously, not every relationship you want to immediately break away and walk away, but it's a decision, it's a choice you have to make constantly. So the first thing obviously is you can start by having an open and hard conversation with that other person, right? Because like I said, like they may not be aware, they may not even know that they are causing so much harm to you. So you can have a hard or a crucial conversation, right? Now, based on the other person, you have to be careful. You have to somewhat practice this, right? You can't just show up one day like, oh, I'm going to have a hard conversation. You have to have some sort of a thinking beforehand, because you're not used to doing this hard conversation with this person and you don't want to get manipulated. So practice a little bit with a safe friend. If you don't feel safe doing it alone, get support. Like, let's say if it's your partner, you can go to counseling together, or you can have like a friend circle and an intervention where other friends are there and you can have a hard conversation with a friend who's bullying you, something like that, right? So if you don't feel safe alone, the point is to tell them clearly without blaming. So it's not like it's your fault, but the language is, I am being impacted with this behavior of yours. When you say this, I feel this. When you say this, I feel this. You may not mean it, but I get hurt, right? What is causing you pain and how much pain you are in? And then obviously you can request them to be more mindful and course correct, right? They might get surprised, by the way, because again, they may not be even aware that this is happening. And that surprise might lead to them either getting defensive or offensive. So this is like a dance. This is hard. You have just threatened their sense of identity, and you have possibly threatened the relationship. So they can retaliate back. Again, the way they respond to your hard conversation actually will tell you a lot about, is this relationship worth saving? So basically start having a hard conversation if you have decided it's a relationship you want to save. If you've made a decision it's a relationship you don't want to save, right, then walk away. It's like, if you have a wound, okay, and if you keep scratching it, it never heals. So similarly, that is, it happens in toxic relationships. If relationships does not improve and you keep staying in it, and you will sustain the triggers and the patterns, you will not heal, because staying in the relationship is causing you pain and hurt and harm, and you will never begin the healing process until you walk away. So if you have the luxury of walking away, right? For example, if you can change your jobs or a department, or if you can find a new roommate, or you can walk away from the friendship or end a relationship or get out of the marriage. If you have the luxury of walking away, and when I say walk away, you like complete no interaction. There is no like friend zone, okay? Like you walk away, then you walk away. Walking away sounds like childish. It's like, oh, we are not kids. Like, we don't just like, oh, I'll never talk to you ever again. It's not childish. Walking away is actually part of growing up. Walking away from what doesn't serve you in your life and you having the conscious ability to choose is part of growing up. And once you detach your identity and worthiness from that person, walking away is actually quite easy. So once you walk away, you will, because your identity and worth is somewhat attached to that relationship, when you are walking away, you will Even if it was a shitty relationship, you will still go through a grieving period or the period of loss. So allow for that, right? When you walk away, allow for grieving, allow room for grief, anger, and healing. Like whatever comes up, allow room for it. Like walking away is not like, oh, see ya, wouldn't wanna be ya kind of a thing, right? When you walk away, it is hard. You're going to actually feel loss. So make room for that. Now, let's say you don't have the luxury of walking away, right? Like maybe for work situations, you have a contract and you can't get out of it. Or, let's say for spouses or exes, you have a child custody. So you have to interact with the person, right? You can't like completely walk away from the person. Or for family members, for example, you can't completely walk away sometimes. That's when you have to draw boundaries to protect yourself. So you have to identify what kind of interaction is allowed. You have to keep asserting and standing up for yourself. You have to make room for your needs and how you want to engage. Chances are either the other person will improve, like once you assert, stand up, educate, have hard conversation, they actually might learn and educate and become better. Or they might leave you alone because you are no longer meeting their needs, right? They can no longer engage you in their drama, and they can no longer get you into a codependent relationship. So they might just like walk away from you. And I have seen that happen in my life too. When I stop, like, quote unquote, being everybody's counselor, then they're like, well, you're not listening to my misery anymore. I don't get the same kind of rush from, giving you all sharing my stories with you. I'm going to find somebody else to talk to. So draw boundaries, healthy boundaries. And, chances are either they will improve or they will leave you alone, right? But you need those boundaries to protect yourself. And last but not the least, right? Any of the steps I just talked about are not possible if you don't feel worthy of love. If you can't be kind to yourself, right? So if you don't feel worthy of love, you're not going to stand up for it. So you have to remind yourself that you are worthy, right? You are worthy just because you exist. There is no prerequisite to worthiness. We all are worthy of love. So you are worthy, and you have to be kind to yourself, because what you're going through is hard. Not only the relationship is hard, walking away from relationship is hard. So all of this is hard stuff. So you just have to, allow room for it, and be kind and loving towards yourself. And, all of these steps are not linear, they're iterative, right? So getting aware, having hard conversation, drawing boundaries, finding support. It's not like step 1, step 2, step 3. It's like you can do them in any order, and you do them over and over and over again. And that's the only way for us to kind of, make ourselves and our lives healthier from a relationship point of view. So I will pause there, and we can have a conversation, and I would love to hear, your thoughts and reflections and questions.